As the movie opens, we see the royal court of an Afghan king in full session, where a horse game is taking place. British General John is watching the game with his wife, Maria. Maria curiously asks John about a man she notices. John replies that the man is the king of this land. Seeing the king, Maria feels a strange sense of joy. She seems intrigued by him and keeps watching him with interest. She studies the king's attire very carefully. The Afghan king, meanwhile, is sitting with his daughter, Sophie. When Sophie asks about John, the king tells her that he is a British general who has come to live here. Maria finds the king quite attractive, but out of fear of John, she pretends to focus back on the game. John and the king also notice each other. Both smile politely, but deep down, they despise one another. On the other side, a soldier named Stephen is talking about guard duty for the weapons. The soldiers take turns standing guard, and today Stephen has come to assign someone else because his weapon was stolen the night before. He warns his men that there must be no carelessness while he's in charge. Stephen gets angry at an old soldier who's hiding something in his pocket. When Stephen scolds him, the other soldiers laugh, which makes him even angrier. He orders the old soldier to take the next guard shift and storms off. At that moment, two Afghans nearby, one of them a bearded man named Jamil, a trusted aide of the king, hide themselves. Jamil has come to kill the old soldier and steal the British weapons. As he approaches, the soldier and Jamil exchange a few words. But when the soldier points his gun at Jamil, Jamil draws his sword, and seeing that, Stephen faints. Jamil is about to steal the weapons when he suddenly stops. He notices that Stephen is wearing underwear beneath his kilt and bursts into laughter. A little while later, that same underwear ends up in the king's hands. Jamil explains everything to him, that the British wear underwear beneath their kilts, and this one belonged to a British soldier. Sophie, confused, asks why her father seems so amused. The king explains that their army once believed the British wore nothing under their kilts, and the Afghan soldiers didn't want to fight naked men. That's why they surrendered. Sophie is shocked by her father's words. The king now realizes that his army had been frightened for no reason, and he decides he won't remain silent any longer. Meanwhile, chaos breaks out among the British troops as news of the missing underwear spreads. The old soldier is brought before Mayor Bruce, along with his superior, Stephen. Stephen tells the old soldier to remove his hat and explain everything. Just as the old man is about to speak, Bruce asks Stephen what the charges are. Stephen reports that the soldier fainted after seeing an Afghan man, and when he woke up, his underwear was gone. Bruce asks what the man looked like. Stephen replies that he was very tall with a beard, a heavily bearded man. Hearing this, Bruce becomes worried. He questions the old soldier about how such a thing could happen. The old soldier admits, "It was my mistake, sir." Bruce doesn't take it lightly. He knows such carelessness could be dangerous. He quickly takes the old soldier to General John and reports the underwear incident. Hearing the story, John becomes concerned and asks what exactly happened. The old soldier explains that while he was on duty, a tall, bearded man approached him, showed him sword, and scared him, and after that he fainted. Listening to the account, John consults his subordinates, who agree that the incident is serious and cannot be ignored because the theft of a soldier's underwear might actually provoke a war. John orders Bruce that from now on, no soldier is allowed to wear underwear. John knows that the Afghans refuse to fight them because they believe the British army doesn't wear any undergarments. After the meeting, John goes to his room, clearly troubled. Maria notices and asks, "What's wrong? Why you look so worried?" John replies, "It's an important matter. I have to meet the king right away." Hearing this, Maria becomes suspicious, thinking John might be having an affair with the king's daughter. She tries to stop him, but John scolds her. Angry, Maria storms out of the room. John quickly gets ready and leaves with two junior soldiers to discuss the underwear issue with the king. Meanwhile, Jamil comes to the king and informs him that John is on his way to meet him. Hearing this, the king dismisses his maids. When his daughter Sophie also tries to leave, he stops her and says, "I want you to listen to our discussion with the British and understand everything." Soon, John arrives before the king, who greets him warmly. Sophie stands beside her father. The king introduces her, and Sophie says, "I know, you're John, and the man standing next to you is Bruce. He's quite handsome." Bruce, flattered, replies, "You're beautiful too." They exchange introductions, which makes the king slightly uncomfortable. He then invites John to sit down. As John and the king begin talking, Sophie serves them coffee. When she hands a cup to Bruce, he seems smitten by her. The king notices this and sternly scolds Sophie, sending her away. John's real reason for coming was to find out whether the king knew about the underwear incident. The king shows him a piece of underwear and says, "I believe this belongs to one of your men." John lies, saying, "Our soldiers don't wear underwear." But the king doesn't believe him. Trying to convince him, John adds, "If any of my soldiers is found wearing it, I'll punish them. But I assure you, this doesn't belong to any of my men." To prove it, John tells Bruce to have the soldiers inspected immediately. Bruce then orders Stephen, "Gather all the men and check if anyone is wearing underwear." Stephen whispers, "Sir, all the soldiers are wearing underwear right now." Bruce, trying to play along, along, sharply signals him to obey the order. The king, noticing their awkward exchange, laughs suspiciously. After the meeting, John is deeply worried. The king clearly knows about the underwear incident. Back in his office, he tells Bruce and Stephen the king has found out. Gather all the soldiers immediately. We must check them ourselves. Stephen protests, but sir, they're all wearing underwear right now. How can we fix this so quickly? John ignores him and orders, I don't care. Make them take it off and bring everyone here now. A short while later, all the soldiers are assembled outside John's residence. Maria, who already knows about the underwear scandal, watches everything from her window. John had ordered all soldiers to remove their underwear, and he was about to inspect them personally. Meanwhile, Maria brings her camera to the window. As the inspection begins, it's revealed that all the soldiers are still wearing underwear, and at that very moment, Maria snaps a photo of the scene. A little later, Maria showed the photo to the king. After seeing it, the king became very pleased and said, "Tell me, what reward do you want in exchange for this?" Maria replied that she would give him the photo only if he gave her his flute. Meanwhile, Sophie was secretly listening to their conversation. She found out everything, that Maria had the photo. The king asked Maria for some time to think and promised that he would give her his flute soon, but only when the right time came. He explained that there was some unrest in his kingdom, and once things were settled, he would fulfill her request. Hearing this, Maria felt a little disappointed because she wanted to see the king's flute right then. After that, she left with the photo. A short while later, Bruce was walking toward his room when he ran into Sophie. She told him, "You must leave this country immediately because my father is preparing for war against the British. He will kill all the English soldiers." She added, "Trust me, it's true. Maria has a photo that shows all the soldiers wearing underwear. I don't want to see you die because I love you." Hearing Sophie's words, Bruce hurried to John and told him everything. "Your wife has a photograph that she's trying to trade with the king for his flute," he said. "Your wife is betraying you behind your back." Shocked, John asked, "How do you know that my wife has the underwear photo?" Bruce replied, "When your wife was talking to the king about it, Sophie was there. She told me that Maria is having an affair with the king." Hearing this, John fell silent and looked deeply troubled. Seeing his distress, Bruce said, "I'll go to the king's palace with my team and catch Maria red-handed." John trusted Bruce completely, so he allowed him to do whatever was necessary. Still, John was heartbroken. His wife was deceiving him behind his back. He ordered Bruce, "Get that photo from Maria by any means necessary." Meanwhile, following the king's orders, several Afghan tribes had gathered. These tribes were fierce warriors, always ready to open fire. When the sound of gunfire echoed, the king grew nervous and asked, "Are these tribes angry with us?" Jamil reassured him, "No, they're happy." The king then addressed them, saying, "The British are trying to take control of my kingdom. I need your help to drive them out. I've learned that British soldiers wear underwear under their kilts. We no longer need to fear them. When we win this war, we'll share great wealth among you." Hearing this, the tribes fired their guns into the air in excitement. The king didn't have much of an army himself, so he was counting on the tribal fighters to help him in the battle against the British. However, not all of them believed him. One of the tribal leaders said, "We are few in number. How can we fight them? And how can we be sure that the British really wear underwear?" Jamil stepped forward and said, "Do you not trust the king's words? We will show you the photograph." Meanwhile, Stephen was in the marketplace, enthusiastically praising the British government's new policies to the local people. Suddenly, a woman arrived. She had been sent by Bruce to lure Stephen into his trap and make him follow her orders. Following her signals, Stephen went after her and entered a nearby house. A few moments later, Bruce arrived at the same place and caught Stephen in a compromising situation. Bruce started mocking him, while Stephen tried to explain, "It's not what you think. I just came here with this lady to pick up some supplies." Bruce smirked and replied, "Don't try to fool me. I know exactly what's going on, and now I'm going to report you." Hearing that, Stephen panicked and begged Bruce to spare him, asking if there was any way out. Bruce said, "There's one thing you can do for me. If you help me with my mission, I won't file a complaint." Stephen quickly agreed. A short while later, Bruce, Stephen, the old soldier, and another man disguised themselves and arrived at the gates of the king's palace. Their plan was simple. One of them would say, "We need to see the king." The guards would open a gate, and they'd all slip inside. The next moment, as the gate opened, all four entered the palace and reached a room where the king's maid stayed. Soon, Jamil appeared and asked suspiciously, "What do you want?" Mistaking them for members of a friendly tribe, Bruce's team told him, "We're here to help the king." Hearing that, Jamil was delighted and ordered the maids to serve them. The presence of the maids made Bruce's men nervous. One of them whispered, "We shouldn't trust Jamil. This could be a trap." But ignoring his warning, the group followed the maids into another room where they were being warmly welcomed. At first, the men discussed among themselves that they needed to stay alert. But after seeing the beautiful maids, they lost control. The old soldier reminded them, "We should focus on our mission." But the other three didn't listen. Instead, they jumped into the swimming pool with the maids. During the chaos, their disguises came off. Seeing their true faces, Jamil immediately realized that they were British and part of some plan. At his command, command. All four were thrown into the palace jail. Even in prison, Bruce remained confident that they would soon escape. They began blaming each other for their capture. The old soldier said, "I warned you all to stay alert, but you didn't listen. Now we'll suffer the consequences." Bruce interrupted, "Enough. Stop blaming each other and start figuring out how to get out of here." Meanwhile, the tribal warriors had reached the palace, waiting for the king to show them proof, the photo. But the king didn't have it. Jamil urged him, "We need the photo quickly so the tribes will fully trust us." Hearing this, the king went to Maria to retrieve it. That day, Maria was wearing a sari. She asked the king, "How do I look?" The king smiled politely and said, "You look very beautiful." As the king moved closer, intending to charm her and get the photo, his stomach suddenly began to ache. Embarrassed, he apologized to Maria and hurried off to the bathroom. As soon as the king left, Sophie went to Maria and told her everything, that John knew she was betraying him and was planning to catch her. Sophie went on to explain that because of Maria's actions, the king was preparing his army for war, which would put John's life in danger. Hearing this, Maria finally realized her mistake. She decided she would no longer deceive John. Instead, she would help him. Soon after, the two of them went to the dungeon, where a guard was already on duty. When he saw Princess Sophie, he asked why they were there. Sophie replied, "We've come to see the prisoners." As the guard reached for his keys, Maria struck him and knocked him unconscious. Then the two women entered the cell. Seeing them, Bruce was overjoyed. He was convinced that Sophie truly loved him. Sophie gave Bruce's team women's clothing as a disguise. One by one, they changed into the outfits. The entire plan was Sophie's idea, so that no one would suspect them. As Sophie began leading them out, Jamil spotted the group and stopped them. Jamil thought they were dancers, so he ordered them to perform. They began dancing to maintain their cover. The king was sitting nearby with Jamil, enjoying the performance. But during the dance, Stephen's skirt slipped, revealing his underwear. The king saw it and immediately shouted for them to be captured. Bruce's team barely managed to escape, but while fleeing, they ended up in an unfamiliar area and didn't know where to go next. Sophie was still with them. Suddenly, they saw a magician performing a levitation trick. The group ran to him and said, "We're British officers." The magician laughed, thinking they were women, but still agreed to help. Using his magic, he created a ladder that helped them escape. Sometime later, Bruce's team reached the British outpost. To their horror, they found many soldiers dead. A wounded man told the old soldier, "Several Afghan tribes have joined forces with the king." He convinced them that the British wear underwear under their kilts. "It was the tribes who attacked and killed us." Meanwhile, the king had gathered many tribes under his command, all eager to wipe out the British. Back at John's palace, Bruce's team arrived, but John was inside with another woman. When Maria tried to go to his room, a junior officer stopped her. She asked, "What's going on?" The officer replied, "Sir is inside with a woman. They're busy." Hearing this, Maria became furious. Inside, John heard her voice and quickly hid the woman in a closet. Maria entered moments later, ran to John, and apologized. John forgave her. Maria wanted to protect him from the king's soldiers, repeatedly saying she was sorry, thinking he was still angry. But then the woman hiding in the closet stepped out, apologized to Maria, and quickly left. Maria's anger flared again. She shouted, "You're a liar and a cheat." Outside, Bruce had already begun preparing for the attack, so that when the tribes arrived, John's army would be ready. Soon, the tribal warriors reached the palace, but Bruce's gunfire was so fierce that they were forced to retreat. Bruce ran to John and said they've fallen back. Meanwhile, the king himself arrived and said, "I've come with an offer. My soldiers didn't retreat out of fear. They did it on my command. If you leave our country, we'll spare your lives." John refused, and the king left angrily. Moments later, the king's army began preparing for battle, while John calmly sat down to eat with his men. He had full confidence in his troops. Soon, the king's forces attacked the palace. The British tried to fight back, but were quickly overpowered, and the enemies stormed inside. Just as the British were about to lose, John ordered his soldiers to fall back. Then, at his signal, the British troops lifted their kilts, revealing that they weren't wearing any underwear. Seeing this, the king's soldiers panicked, dropped their weapons, and fled the battlefield in fear. And with that, the story comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.